Hello, I'm John Sechon, and this is Voices from the Region. Today, I'm joined by the standard bearer of the Cebu City's local opposition party, Margot Osmeña, Pundok Kauswagan. Welcome to Rapper Talk.
Thank
still
you very
now, Margot.
much. Thank you.
Let's go straight to the point. First off, what is Cebu City's biggest and most urgent issue?
To be relevant, to be visible, and to be, for me, it's to be there when people need you, to show that you are there. Sa Bisaya ba, masaligan, you trust, that you can trust your city to be there. This is our home. We all live in one city. It's called Cebu. It's like living in the same house, same home. And no matter what happens there, if you don't like what's going on, you don't leave home, right? You try to make things right so that it becomes more livable.
For years, Tommy Osmena has been leading the front lines for BOPK. Now, Margot Osmeña is leading the front lines. For our voters, what makes you different from Sir Tommy Osmena?
Well, first of all, I'm a woman. Second, Tommy is a hard act to follow. And many people will agree with that for different reasons. It may be nice reasons, good reasons, and it may be not so good reasons, not so pleasant reasons. But the fact is, it's a very hard act to follow. And what makes me different? Maybe it's the way we do things. We may be doing the same thing, and we may be going towards the same goal and having the same reasons for being there, but it's the way we do it.
Speaking of hard acts to follow, in 2018, Sir Tommy was a big critic of the AntiDrug Campaign. And in 2019, he was faced by a very strong opposition that was backed by President Rodrigo Duterte. How has that been hard on your campaign back then and today?
Let's talk of 2019. Of course, it was hard on our campaign because there were things that happened that never happened before, and that we couldn't even imagine happening in Cebu City. We were always proud that, okay, let's have, politics is the way it is. When it's time for the campaigning, it becomes very combative, and that's the nature of the campaign. But in Cebuano, I'd say, yeah, pero you do it through the mouth. You can go to insults, but not more than that. Even our own house, it had its own private checkpoint for several weeks by police who were dressed in like they were going to full battle, because they were dressed as such. That never happened before. And then our captains, our barangay captains, or those identified with us, their homes were girakrakan ba, they were shot at, okay, including the one of the showrooms of the business of Franklin Ong. He's now running as vice mayor together with me, and to think his showroom is in Mandaue. These were unheard of before. So was it difficult? Of course it was difficult, but especially for the people who are vulnerable. We had incidents, and these are real incidents of people being killed. That never happened. As to your question, John, what about now? We hope it doesn't happen. Whatever happens, I have decided to take this path, knowing that anything can happen, but I'll continue.
Let's get into details. I'm going to ask you about some major projects in Cebu City. Let's first start off with the carbon market modernization project. Many of the vendors are saying that they are for modernization, but they don't want the privatization. What's your solution on this?
I don't have a solution, but I agree. Modernization is not something that we're trying to stop. In fact, it is welcomed, di ba? But it must take into account the people who are affected. Most of all the vendors and those who have been doing their business there for generations. These are small businessmen. I mean, these are livelihood. This is livelihood. Livelihood meaning this is their way of life. And it is just right that they have a part in this. It's the privatization, yes, because once you privatize a public market, then obviously a private company does not do this for free, right? They have, and it is inherent in them that they do it for profit. So, again, modernization, it's not the issue. It's not the issue. It's the privatization. And if you will look at the people going to Carbon, these are mostly simple people. Those who have very limited budgets. Maybe they have 200 pesos. They cannot go there and shop for the whole week and have a freezer at home, so that they can store whatever they have and then go back the next week. They go on a daily budget. And Carbon is able to supply, to provide, them the means of feeding their families. If it becomes a private entity, I doubt if they will be able to afford doing that, because there will be higher rents to be paid. Higher rents mean higher costs, right? And this does not only affect the people who you see in Carbon. There are also those who provide supplies for the people in Carbon, like the ones in the bukid, in the mountains. They're also they're worried. They're truly worried about it.
Just to clarify, ma'am, are you going to stop the project?
Stop the project. Let's put a hold on it first and see. No, the legal side I cannot talk about because I'm not a lawyer. But I am sure we have good lawyers who can look at that side. But let's just put a hold on it and see. I mean, like even as said by the mayor now, there have to be corrective measures, right? So that is admission that the original JVA had something to be corrected.
Now let's talk about the 93-1 problem. For our viewers who don't know what the 93-1 problem is, it's a land swap deal between the Cebu City government and the Cebu provincial government, where more than 5,000 Cebuano families are still staying in provincial state-owned lands. The Cebu City government proposed to have a land swap with the Cebu provincial government in 2016 through an ordinance that's known as the 93-1. Until today, that problem hasn't been solved. What's your solution?
It has been solved. The swap deal went through the process, and it went to the council. It was unanimously approved by the council. Some members of whom are still in the current council now and who are now questioning what they approved. So why did they approve it? And let's go a little further back, John. In 2000, I think it was 2008, when there was already an approved deal in principle between the province and the city. The then governor, Gwen Garcia, now governor again, but she was governor also then, and Tommy as mayor. And it was just a matter again of formalities and going through the process, of course, of having it approved by the council. And if I remember correctly, John, at that time, the council there was no problem. Maybe there was no opposition to think of, to even consider at that time. And so it was just there. It was part of the agenda. And when it came up, it was then Vice Mayor Mike Rama, who was the presiding officer, asked to step down, and he delivered a privileged speech. And to the surprise of all, because he had not informed the rest, including Tommy as mayor, of what he was going to do. And to make it a long story short, he said essentially it could not be approved because it was, to use his own words, dawat limpyo. It's like the province is just is on the is on the advantageous side, and the city is disadvantaged by that. And it was, I mean, it was, if I may say so, it was a shock. So what has already been ironed out, the details of which were there, he just said, he just came up with that. And so that brought in again the delay. Because of course, the governor got very upset at that time. And in 2016, when Tommy assumed being mayor again, he said he would go back to that. So by the end of 2016, it had been solved. So when you say that it has not been solved, I disagree with that, because it's there. The titles of the provincial lands properties occupied by the 93-1 concerned were already turned over to the city, and were then, without informing the stakeholders, was returned to the capital earlier this year. I mean, what's this all about? True, the swap that was approved in 2016 has not been implemented because there are a lot fully implemented or executed, but you have it already there, right? So, as far as I am concerned, it's solved. The swap is there.
So the usage of the SRP has been a topic of debate by our city councilors. And they're very much divided by it, whether or not to sell parts of the land or to develop parts of the land. For our viewers, the SRP is the South Road Properties, a project by the Cebu City government that would create revenues to help fund educational pursuits and even other developments in the city. So how would you, ma'am, how would you resolve the issues surrounding that?
I don't know if there is a solution, if it has already been solved, so there's no more solution. But put it this way, the issue of it being sold or not, I mean, it's there. But maybe the more important aspect of that is, when should we sell? And should we sell it in bulk, right? Because the whole principle behind building or putting up the SRP, which took decades, almost 20 years, I think, was to provide a future for the Cebuanos who may not even have been born and who would not even know that where the SRP now stands was once sea, water, which is now land. But it was also up to provide a means, so that a source for the city, so that it would not have to depend on the national government. And yes, as you mentioned earlier, the proceeds of selling or leasing would be to provide services for the Cebuanos in the field of education, health. It was really to take care of the future. And, little by little, so that, because it grows, hindi ba? It increases in value. In fact, I remember I was still a councillor in 2015 when about 47, 48 hectares were sold. And we in the council had passed a resolution saying that we will not sell. But they did it anyway. And then we passed another resolution basically saying that we should not accept the proceeds because of that question of it should not be sold. It was accepted anyway. Okay, so it was sold then, I think 38,000 to 40,000 per square meter. Months later, like November of the same year, that is when Seaside opened. Once Seaside opened, of course, the values would automatically go up. And again, at that time, if you were to compare what the city sold it at to the prices in the IT park, the IT park was then already selling at about 100,000 per square meter. You know what I mean? So, and then Tommy assumed office in 2016, and he did not touch the proceeds. He kept it there. But still, the services of the city, the basic services of the city were met without using the funds of the SRP.
What is your localized plan for the new normal?
Being the new normal after the pandemic, life has to go on, number one. You know, you cannot just stop and say, well, we still have. Then, I'm very grateful that not certain, but we are vaccinated, that it has provided us a safety net of some sort or defense, right? Because like Tommy and I and almost everybody here in the house got the Omicron last January, but because we were all vaccinated, it passed, you know. So that way, I think it's something we'll have to live with. And what do? We just have to make sure that we always take the precautionary measures. As science and as medicine will develop and will have more and more measures to address the presence of COVID, then we adopt that. We have to listen. You know, John, we have to listen to the medical community, the scientific community, and of course the business community, and see how we can be able to coordinate all of that with the people who need it the most. Those down there on the ground who have lost their livelihood, who lost their jobs, and who did they turn to? Who could they have turned to, right? We have to listen, number one. And any service that the city will give has to be done in an efficient manner and timely. You don't give something that was needed 3 months ago. Or you don't give something now that's not needed yet. You know? It has to be transparent. And tell the people, explain to the people what we're doing. It's like being a mom. Here I go. You know, we have different kinds of children, and they all don't. They will have different needs, but you don't stop being a mom here because you have to be a mom there. You're a mom to all, and you meet all. You address all those needs because you're a mom.
Speaking of mothers, what does an anti-drug campaign of a mother look like?
I think it starts from childhood, John. You know, why do people turn to drugs? Sometimes they have nothing to do. And then, of course, the barkada thing, and then it's cool, you know. And maybe they have their own problems. But it starts from childhood. I would like to think that you have to make your child secure, knowing that you're not perfect, and he's not perfect either, or she, but you're there for each other. And also, don't give them too much, you know, that they can spend on things like that. And keep an eye, without being, you know, like somebody there following all the time, but keep an eye open.
So I want us to take a look back and remember what happened to Odette. Many of our citizens were looking for their mothers and fathers who are part of the city council. Of course, They were looking for officials who would be responsible for what had happened. And we've seen garbage being part of the streets. We've seen so much devastation. And the response took a little time, much more time than we expected. What would you have done differently in response to Typhoon Odette?
I would have been there. Even if at that very moment I cannot help you directly, but being there, showing that I'm here, huh? Let's see what we can do. Again, can I go back to being a mom? We all have problems in our families, and sometimes they can't be solved immediately. But if you just hold the hand of your child or hold each other's hands and say, look, we can't do this right away now, but we're here for each other. So as an official, that's why you're called an official. That's why you're called a public servant. Yes, you may have suffered also, or you may have had damages or whatever because of Odette. But you have to go beyond that. Now you have to go beyond, you're being a job. It's being a job. Just be there. Just be there first. See what they need. We kind of know what they need, right? Everybody needed the same thing. They needed water. They needed electricity. But they need to know that government is there. Because, when you don't see any movement, you go, what's happening? How come nothing's happening?
So this is a very important question, ma'am. Why does Cebu need a mother? Has it had enough of fathers?
Oh, no. I will never put down fathers. Never. Never. But, well, like I was saying earlier, it's time. It's time. We are living in a home, a city, that perhaps needs to show more compassion, to be not taking away the other responsibilities. But maybe the heart should speak louder now, make itself felt. And you know what? Women can multitask. I think we can do that a lot better than men. I can text, I can watch TV, and I can talk to you at the same time. I find that very rare in men. And we can, I don't know, I can separate kasi. I can separate. Can I just talk about myself? No, I can separate. Even if you don't like me, or you don't like my husband, it's okay. I can greet you. Things like that. I can go beyond that. Have had enough of fathers. We will never have enough of fathers because a mother is a mother because there's a father, right? A mother can't be a mother. She can be a single mother later on, but she couldn't have been a mother without a father involved. Whether that father is still around is another case. But no, but it's time now. Like in any home, it depends on the situation. The father will always be there in a normal home. But who does the father entrust the home to? Right? The running of the home. The father goes out, earns, tries to earns money so that his children can eat, so that his children can go to school. But who manages that money? Who budgets that? The mom. When there are issues between the children, who takes care of that? Mostly the mom. Even if I asked you, maybe most of you would say you'd go to your mom, di ba?
People are saying women can't lead. What's your reaction to that?
Hello? What, women can't lead? Who were in the countries during the COVID, Who were the countries that excelled in their fight against COVID? Most of them are countries led by women. Why can't we lead? I can lead in my house. When you don't have to lead with your strength of whatever. You can lead with your heart. And I think people are beginning to see that.
Let's end this with a promise. If you become mayor, what is one thing that you can guarantee will be delivered in your first 100 days of service?
I don't know if I'm answering your question directly, John, but this is how I see it. The first thing I do when I am faced in a situation like this is to see and to look and to assess what we have. What are the resources that we have? And that includes people. Do we have too much? Do we have too little? Do we have too many here? Like that. I always like to look at what we have and not look for what I don't have. Because then I'll spend my energy trying to find something that I don't have. Why don't I see first what we have? That. Put things into order. See that what this part is supposed to do is doing that part. Okay. You need 100 people, there are only 20 there. Okay, because maybe here there are 200 people, and they only need 100. So let's things like that, so that the home will become clear, clean, and ready to go. But of course, I cannot do that and tell everybody else, wait, don't give me your problems because I'm cleaning house. No, that cannot be done. I am very fortunate and grateful that I have a whole group with me, a family with me, who have their own, their own talents in meeting what is needed. For example, I'm running with Franklin Ong. Franklin, as of currently, is of course the president of the ABC. So he is used. He's used to the barangay concerns. He can help me out there, of course. We're a team. So we all have our roles to play. But going back to me, that's what I'm going to do first. And then after I see, okay, what can we address first? How much money do we have? How come we haven't paid, let's say, how come we haven't paid the hospitals? How come we haven't paid this? Why not? Look at the wallet. That there are not too many credit cards.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the interview. And that concludes this talk. Once again, we're joined by former Councilor Margot Osmeña, the standard bearer and mayoral candidate of Bando Osmeña, Pundok Kauswagan. I'm John Sechon, and this is Voices from the Region.